Hey, how's everybody doing out there in the podcast world and live stream world? It's me, Joel Simmons, coming at you one more time with It Starts With Me. So we're glad to be here on this day and to be able to share this next story coming up. It's going to be with Mike Seville, good friend of mine, very good friend of mine, best friend of mine, and brother of mine. But first, let's go ahead and clear some things up. So It Starts With Me had just opened up and started this year. Last Wednesday was the first episode, and we air every single Wednesday at 12:30. Some of the episodes will be pre-recorded, like this one, due to scheduling, and then other ones will be live streamed. So the live stream will also occur on YouTube as well as LinkedIn and Facebook. And you'll be able to reach the podcast on Apple, Anchor, and I believe the other one is, I don't recall that last one. Maybe I'll get Anna to tell me that last one, because there's one other little spot that you can also look it up, and that's Spotify. All right. So Spotify, Apple, and Anchor. Okay. So we're going to get ready to get our host in. We want to give him a little bit of an introduction. This is going to be Mike Seville, the real estate king right here in Palm Beach County, born and raised. And he also is your live stream host on Monday nights with Mike. All right. That'll be at 9 o'clock, streaming live on Facebook. And he is also on the Community Beacon, where I host along with him every single Friday night at 6:30. So let's bring him on into the studio. Michael Seville.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today?
All right, Mike, what's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad that you're to be invited here once again on the show. Am I the first?
Yeah. I don't know how you do it, but it seems like all of your friends and your brothers like to invite you to be the first speaker on their show. So yes, you're the first one.
Man, I appreciate it. Listen, brother, I'm honored. So glad to be a part of this with you here. With It Starts With Me, man. I can't wait to get into it.
All right, excellent. So I know that we have a little bit of a time constraint on today, and you've taken it out of your schedule where you really are active in the community as well as in what you do. So let's go ahead and get started. This episode, It Starts With Me, is really about transitions. And I don't know, you've had an opportunity to kind of think about a few transitions in your life. I want to hear about a transition that may have been difficult or that had just made such a great impact on your life that it changed the trajectory of what you do. What would you say that is? What could you tell us?
I think the probably one of the biggest transitions that I've ever had in my life was it's children. You know, having my son kind of makes you get real serious about life. So Elijah, my first son, was born, when was Elijah? 3/30/2010. And leading up to that, we're kind of living our own lives. I mean, you kind of don't even keep food in the house. When you want something to eat, you go out there and you eat it. But when you have a child, a mouth to feed, a child at home, it starts to make you start thinking more about the future, planning and preparing for the future. So Elijah really lit that fire and gave me a sense of urgency into what exactly it is what I want to do. As a young guy, I had Elijah when I was about 27 or 28. As a young guy, you always think you have time. You're young, you say, hey, listen, I'm young, I have plenty of time to do whatever it is that I want to do. So you kind of, you're just kind of waking up and just reacting to everything that's going on. But when I found out that I was going to have Elijah, everything got very, very serious for me. Case in point, at the time I was working with the city of West Palm Beach. I was working at the Youth Empowerment Center. And when I had finished college, I always said that for the first 5 years, I would go back and I would give back to the community. I would work in the community before I started a business. I always knew I wanted to work for myself, but I said, let me give back to the community before I go full throttle into working for my business. And I did. However, that 5 years turned into 10. It doubled up real quick. But Elijah being born definitely gave me that sense of urgency. And that was the biggest transition for me. That just changed my entire life. And of course, when he was born, and looking at this child and saying, I'm responsible for this. I may not be responsible for anything else in this world, but this child is what I'm responsible for. So that automatically gave me an entirely different perspective on where I wanted to go in life, and then actually, putting that, the fire to the bottom of the pot, getting things heated up.
So, I guess that's pretty interesting. That's definitely not the route that I thought you were going to go, but when you got there, it made a lot of sense. I hear you speaking a lot about your children. When I watch you on live streams, I'll notice that many times I'll see pictures of your kids. There'll be Elijah, there'll be Paul, Big Papa.
Little Big Papa.
Yeah. I've never heard about Little Paul. It's always Big Papa, Big Papa. So I watched that, and there's plenty of people that are having that same type of transition going on in their life. I would presume everywhere, just to know that you took the time to divide yourself out, that community time. And then before you went on to move into your own business. So I guess that's where we are, 10 years later, a decade later, what was it that really got you to say, okay, now is the time. I've got to make this move. It's now or never.
Oh yeah. So definitely Elijah was the fire that started it, got it lit, so to speak. Shortly thereafter, just working. I don't know how many people have worked with different municipalities and cities, but cities and municipalities, government within general, have their own way of doing things. And I've always been, a mover. I have to move. I have to shake. I'm always identifying ways to improve. And maybe the city does what it does. However, it just doesn't move as fast as I would have liked it to. So I took stock in that. Not only with that, but just being around the city, being around the that type of environment, I saw what actually moves things. And so one of the things that moves things is money. Money is definitely is a motivator. Money moves things. Money has, opens up all kinds of different opportunities. Money is probably one of, if not the, most powerful tools that a person can use in their arsenal. And guess what? When you're working at the city, there's not actually working for the city. There tends to be a cap. And I wanted to move towards a business that didn't have a cap. And I wanted to move towards a business that put me in places of other affluential people. So when I sat back and I looked around at different things that I can go into, I said, well, there's a couple things. You can go into probably investments, stocks, etc. One good thing but it was just I thought it was too boring for me, was insurance, but that's also an excellent career to get into. And the other thing was real estate. And being as I bought my first house, and I think I was in college, I might have been 20 at the time when I bought my first home, 19, 20, somewhere around there. And then the second thing that, so I was in college, I bought my first home. My mother had always been in real estate. And then I said, this may be the avenue that I wanted to choose to go through. So I immediately went and found a mentor within the real estate space, an investor, Mike Mundelli. Shouts out to Mike. I owe him so much for informing me, giving me all this information. Like, I'll tell him now. I would have paid him for the information. But the way that things work out, thank God, he ended up paying me to receive the information. Wow. Yeah. So he ended up paying me to receive this information, and then I started from the bottom. Don't get me wrong. There was nothing really given because I did provide value to him. So I started working as a property manager for some investment properties, and they weren't the best investment properties. But it started from there. Then eventually I went into managing projects, which I still do now for myself and other investors. Went into investing in buying my own properties. Then I got into real estate sales. But I'm always an investor at heart.
Okay, so that's interesting, and I want to just throw this out there because really one of the things that we discuss is like time and chance, and how that can have an impact on an individual's life. And right there in the middle of it, you're telling me that Elijah kickstarted this fire in you to get out there and do your own thing, and it turns out that there was like this natural programming that you had inside of you that was given by your mother. So real estate, out of your choices, maybe that might have been the reason why you lent a little more towards that. And then all of a sudden you go out to look for a mentor, and it's like the heavens opened up, and here's a mentor that not only has the knowledge, but they also have the finance, and they have the wherewithal, and they have the desire to help you. And that was an opportunity right there that some people might have just, I don't know, brushed it off or whatever, or not made that next call or not shown up. But you took that as an opportunity, that chance, a chance of a lifetime, and you began to give yourself up. You began to work for free, knowing that there was a benefit there. That's powerful right there. That's powerful.
Yeah. You know what? I love time and chance. I do, because you have to be, the opportunity has to present itself. You have the opportunity has to present itself in order for you to take advantage of it, because if no opportunity presents itself, there's nothing to take advantage of. So I think I give a lot of credit of that to God. God presents these opportunities. What I also know is that if you work really hard, you tend to get lucky a lot. Because what we'll find out is that there's opportunities everywhere in real estate, in investments. It's the opportunities are abound. But you have to be preparing yourself for it. You have to be preparing yourself for it. Mike wasn't the first person I probably went and had a conversation with. Mike wasn't the first, and at the end of the day, he never ended up being the last, because as I continued working hard, as I continued to seek and you shall find, as I continue to seek these different opportunities, they start to present themselves. There's so much opportunities. The question is, are you building? And then for me, it was, am I building the tools? Am I putting a tool belt together to where I can be able to use it? How can I take this opportunity? And not only that, but how do I make myself valuable? And that's one of the things that I definitely say, my mother taught me, is to make myself valuable to people. What is it that I can do to make myself valuable to people? Because I'm sure Mike interviewed and spoke to other people, but what he got with me and what he wanted from me was to take something off his plate. And I, at the time, I was like, listen, if I'm willing to learn, you're going to pay me for it. I can take it off your plate. You can go and do other things, focus on other things. And that's I think what it was, is the ability to actually continue seeking, actually prepare myself in order to, to be valuable to other people. There's a quote that I love, and I say it every morning. I think it's Zig Ziglar, who says that you can get whatever you want if you help enough people get what they want. Ooh. So I think people always, it has to be a symbiotic relationship. I never want anyone to feel as if they gave something to me. I want people to say, okay, well, I gave Mike this because it's valuable in this way. So it's just something I totally believe in.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. And knowing that that's what you're repeating to yourself every morning, I think that should be a wake-up call for many of us everywhere. I like that you were mentioning something. When you were working at the Youth Empowerment Center, and right before to go into like this transitional phase, you had a thought process that you had mentioned, and there was two things that were on your mind, and you stated that there was no cap. You wanted to go somewhere where there was no cap, and you wanted to get around affluential people. So you need to go somewhere where you could grow to your fullest. That's the way I'm taking it. You want to get somewhere where you could grow to your fullest. And the second thing was you wanted to create new circles so that you could not only be beneficial, but that you could also benefit from those that are around you. I think that's a really important thing, because during that process, it sounds as if you were always in a preparation mode. You were always looking and seeking greater knowledge and understanding of the avenues that you may possibly take at a certain point in time. And I think that that's really prudent for us to understand, because there was an old song, people are going to date me now, Outcast. And I'll never forget this song, because even while I was a young man, I used to think about the song, and it was get up, get out, and get something. And there's more to that song as well. I wasn't always the man that I am. But nonetheless, that was a major influence on me throughout the course of my life, that if I just stay in my house and do nothing, then I will receive nothing. So it sounds like you kind of took, maybe not from that song or for whatever the reason were, that a piece of that was in you as well, to really get yourself settled and situated into something much greater. What would you say about that, though?
Let's go back to the classic. You're dating yourself, but you're dating yourself to a classic. That song, I listen to that song to this day. You need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't let the days of your life pass by. You need to get up, get out, and get something, because you and I got to do for you and I. Listen.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
That is the mantra. There's nothing. I already know what I know. Okay, and I stick firm to a lot of beliefs, but I leave myself open to be corrected, open to see what else is going on, because there's so much more out there for me to know. What I knew is that I'm going to start in real estate the way that I know how, the way my mother knew how. As I got into real estate and got around more influential, because I never thought that I would end in real estate sales. It never really sounded appealing to me. Listen, client services is tough. So anything, any kind of field that you're in industry, if you're doing it at a high level, client services, especially as you get to master it, client services tends to be tough, because you don't know how to qualify. You don't know who's qualified, who's not qualified. How do you find the people? And part of qualifications, can they pay me? Can I help these people? Is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be, can I do things efficiently? And so these are all the things that go along with client service. Are they going to pay me? Did I say that already? So these are some of the things that go along with client services. So at this point in time, within a part of my business is residential sales. And it's not the easiest. Probably one of the biggest transitions that most people make. No, it is. It's probably one of the most stressful times that people do is moving to and from home and buying homes, etc. So I never thought that I would end up here. And it was always these people that were kind of put in place that I took from and guided my trajectory. And I can almost guarantee 10 years from now, I'm not going to still be in this same place. But I loved real estate because everything has to do with real estate. And it gives you options. If there's one thing that I can tell about the younger generation, I can impress upon them, is that you want to do things that allows you to give you options. We're here for options, because if you start to pigeonhole yourself, be along for the ride, because you might be blessed to live a very, very long life. And so hopefully what you're doing, you end up becoming passionate about, or it's one of your gifts. So Excellent. Yeah. So that's what I
That's
was saying about that.
interesting. As far as so two different things, right? One, I would love for you to explain what you mean by pigeonhole,
Okay.
just so we can be clear on that. And the second thing, I would like to know what has been the most difficult moment since you made this transition in your life.
I love that. So pigeonhole is to be boxed in.
Okay.
You can sometimes we can be pigeonholed. Here's a musician. Since we were talking about music earlier. 50 Cent spoke about Mobb Deep. And
Okay.
50 Cent is probably one of the biggest moguls that came out of hip hop rap music, especially at this time. And what he was able to do was, which was awesome, is that he never pigeonholed himself into this. He made 50 Cent a character, but then he had Curtis, which is his name, Curtis Jackson.
Right.
So he could live out his life as 50 Cent, this hip hop musician, as an entertainer. But then Curtis Jackson was the businessman, right? So and any success, when you start to look at a lot of these successful entertainers, they all do it. Even and LeBron James was huge as well. LeBron James had a whole campaign. I'm not just an athlete.
Yeah.
So I'm a father. Because what they can do is a person can do, or people anyways, can just take one aspect of who you are. And we as human beings, we're multifaceted. Okay, so you have Michael Seville, the real estate person, whether that's residential sales, whether that's entrepreneurship, whether that's investments, whether that's project management. These are different hats within the real estate industry. And you have Michael Seville, the father. You have Michael Seville, the brother. You have Michael Seville. So I never wanted to be pigeonholed and just boxed into saying that this is it, this is the guy. And that ego precedes myself, and what ends up happening is oftentimes people can become a character of themselves. It's not even them, but you become a character because you feel like you have to be that person, right? So that's in a long about way. That's how I feel about being pigeonholed or being boxed in. Create a way where you can be open to go to whatever avenue it is that you're being pointed in, that God points you in. What was the second question? Because I kind of get it.
That was a powerful statement right there. Honestly, I enjoyed that one. All in all, part of what I have looked to do in my life is to make sure that I create a avenue where the me that I am is accessible in all the things that I do.
Right.
The me that I am is accessible in all the things that I do, so that I don't essentially get pigeonholed, as you would say, in one avenue of what I do, so that I don't become this person that only has the ability to do one thing and everything else don't call me for. So I love that. I love it. That's why
you can't recreate yourself. Like we don't we grow? Can't we grow? Some people wanted to be, I remember Joel at 20. That's Joel. That Joel like, whoa. Joel has 20 years of experience. Muhammad Ali said it best. If I'm the same man I am at 50 that I was at 25, then I would have wasted 25 years of my life, right? Yeah. Because we're not growing, we're dying. And I think I remember the question. The question had something to do with what was the toughest transition, one of the toughest transitions I had to make.
There it is. Wow. That's it.
Listen, and I hope this can help people, because mental health is very serious. Mental health is very serious. I want people to, take in the scope, like, well, you're not, you can be fragile. Your mental health can be fragile. And especially when you're making different transitions. So one of the things is my parents come from a Caribbean background. So coming from that Caribbean background, what they were taught for the most part is that your job kind of is your identity. So you'll go to school, you'll get out of school, you'll find a job, and this happened, and things are changed a lot now. But for a while, it's your job is who you are. So I was Mike from the city, and subconsciously I had adapted that thought process. Like this, I'm Mike from the city. The city can't. This is ego too. The city can't run correctly without me. what is the community going to do if Mike is not here? I felt a lot when I was leaving and when I officially left and went on my own, I felt a lot of guilt for leaving the community behind. This is a place where I had been for 10 years. I saw kids grow up from middle school and even go off to college. We did such great things within that community. And so maybe 2 to 3 weeks after I left the city, I started having panic attacks. I mean, real life panic attacks because my ego and my identity was so attached to this entity, this who I thought I was. So I mean, panic attacks to where I'm driving, and I mean, you start to feel like your heart, like you're having a heart attack. Listen, I don't know how many people have not, have ever experienced a panic attack, but you feel like you're having a heart attack. Like it takes everything. Praise God, I was around some really good people. Chris was there. I mean, one time I went to the hospital, and I don't think I told a story, on a platform this big. So you're getting the exclusive. To where and it was just used to feed into each other. I mean, this was some serious stuff to where I couldn't sleep at night because if I slept, I wake up automatically. I would wake up feeling like out of breath, couldn't catch my breath. And this went on for a week. People, sleep's important. If you've ever went 4 to 5 days without sleep, 4 or 5 days without sleep, your mind it's just different. Like you start to think all kinds of thoughts. I've never been suicidal in my life, but at that point in time, I was just like, Lord, I just started writing stuff down because everything, it was very, it was incoherent, the thoughts that you would have. The only time I felt good was when I went to the gym, because what happens is you go to the gym and you can mimic what you should do when you're having a panic attack is the breathing. Pay attention. I was paying attention. I got to pay attention to my breathing. God bless her soul. She passed away. I had a person that I met in Toastmasters, as a matter of fact, Joy. And Joy was huge into meditation and breathing. And she taught me different breathing exercises, etc., that eventually helped me to get past it. And then, one day I just said, you know what, this was it. And this went on for maybe about 3 to 4 weeks. But that was a crazy transition. And it all came from, initially, was my identity being so interfused with this job. It wasn't with myself. It was with this job that I had. So I want people to be careful because the job I had, I loved the people I had. We used to go on our days off. You wanted to help the community. You became ingrained into it. But when it was time to make the transition, like it was tough, man. So that to me, that probably was the most that was the toughest thing that I ever had to do with the transition. I can take being broke, I can take not having money, but one of the things to do was to separate myself from that identity I had created for myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Y'all are hearing it live. I never even heard that story.
Yeah.
I mean, and look at you now. You're a light in the community, and people know your name. I go to different places and I mention your name, and people have good things to say about you, and that's very impressive. It doesn't run that way with everybody, because the thing about it is that you can be one way with one person, and that one way can always be good. But it's hard to be that way with everyone you meet if that's not truly who you are.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to see you in your low mode. Someone's going to see you on your off day. And if you truly are that one individual that is genuine about what they do, and genuine about who they are, and genuine about how they speak with you, then they'll do it with everybody. And that's the type of individual you are. So I don't want to give a story. This is about you today. But I started to think about a time that you stopped by to help me out with moving furniture.
Oh,
and man, the dresser, I have this 1,000-pound, at least it felt like 1,000 pounds. What's that?
It was at least 1,000.
It felt like 1,000 pounds. And for whatever reason, whenever my children would help us to lift this thing up, these narrow set of flight of steps,
God.
I would give them specific directions on exactly what they need to do to not get hurt. But then when Mike would help, I didn't give you that specific direction. I was just, he'll be all right. We got this. We've done this. We're men. And I didn't say something, but I was planning on doing it. And you didn't know. And your hand got caught somewhere. And I remember hearing in your voice that it was very painful. But you didn't cuss. You didn't fuss. You were just like, all right, man, whatever. Let's just get this thing up and get it into your room. And we did. Yeah. I felt so bad. And we did. We got into the room. And you looked at me and were like, so what else is there that you need to move? And I was like, that was it. You're like, all right, I'm going to have to get going.
I remember it because we had been lifting. It was a full day of lifting. And I think it was nighttime. It was pretty late at that point in time. And I remember I hit my finger and I was like, oh no. But I wasn't going to leave it there. I said, listen, brother, we just lifting it from this point on. That adrenaline had kicked in. It was like, let's just go. And I was like, anything else? No. All right, I'm going home. It was a quiet ride home because my finger was thumping. Oh, but man, listen, that was an interesting. That move, and that's a whole story because I don't want to get too far into it. But that was, that story. Part of that story was definitely one of the reasons that guided me towards residential sales within real estate. And this happened. This I don't know if a lot of us remember what happened in 2008 with the crash. And there was a lot of different things that were going on, and a lot of people within our community lost their homes or couldn't afford to pay for them, or whatever it was, and good people that got caught up in some interesting situations. And a lot of it was because of lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
There was a lot of lack of knowledge and a lot of and lack of information. And so I dived head deep into figuring out this knowledge, into figuring out this and getting this information so that I'm able to share it with people. Because the home building wealth, home ownership is a huge part of it. I don't care what anybody says. This is gone back it's not just it's been thousands of years. We're owning land, owning property, fixed property has been a huge influence on what your wealth is and the type of wealth that you pass down within generations. So, when I initially got into real estate, it was about me and my family, me and my sons, making sure me and my sons have everything. But once I got into it and I got so much information, it immediately became about the people. How can I support and help the people who need it? Real estate and even residential sales is not, we've kind of whitewashed it to be like it's just about these contracts and these numbers. Real estate is about the people. Real estate is about problem solving, because anybody that's moving has an issue. Whether it's I have to go to a new job, whether it's time for me to downsize because I'm getting to the point where I can't get up these steps, or I don't want to mow the grass. Right. Whether it's not that I have a baby and I need to get out of this 1-bedroom apartment. Now I'm starting to have a family. There's a lot of different reasons as to why. That's why you can see 2 identical houses on the same street. One sells for $200,000, the other one sells for $400,000. Like, how does that happen? How does something like that happen? Well, the person who's selling for $200,000 has something going on. It's not even about the money. Remember, I said money is just the tool. Oftentimes, it's not necessarily a money problem. It's a life transition problem. once you start to understand that within real estate, things start to happen a little bit more, and you're concerned about people, and that's really what you got to convey it. But you allow people to know, listen, I can solve your issue. What is it? Because with the great thing about real estate is that there's always a way. I'm sorry, guys, I get real passionate when I start going down that.
I love it.
That path.
I love it. Listen, Mike, there was 3 or 4 more questions that I wanted to ask you, but I know that we're at a hard stop. We want to make sure that you have the time to make your transition, to do the other things that you need to do. Really appreciate you coming on this show. This is the first guest of 2022, the first guest of It Starts With Me, Michael Seville, the real estate king. Is there anything that you would like to share with with the listeners out there about your business, or any final thoughts you want to put out there?
I just want to impress upon people who may be catching the show, whenever you catch it. We're in 2022. It's a brand new year. I'm sorry, I'm dating a brother show, but it's 2022. There's a huge transition. There's a huge transition going on right now with wealth. Definitely within the United States, and more likely across the world. We're hearing about non-fungible tokens. We're hearing about cryptocurrency. Of course, real estate is always the topic of most people's conversations, because these are assets. For the most part, real estate is tried and true. Some of those other things I named were pretty new. I don't know what it is that you intend on doing, but you need to do something in regards to real estate. The time to buy, and we spoke about this before, was either 30 years ago or now. What I don't want to happen is for you to end up being priced out. I don't want us to have the same conversation next year. We don't know what the future holds. What I do know is that if you can afford it, if you have the means, purchase something. Purchase land, purchase condos, townhouses, single families, whatever it is that you can do. Just get in the game. Stop sitting on the sidelines. That's it. Get in the game. Stop sitting on the sidelines. If you need some help or some direction, I do 15-minute consultations all the time for free. If you need it, call me. I don't know if we're going to put those in the show notes. If not, 561-401-5086. Let me know that you caught me on It Starts With Me, the Brother Joel's channel. And give me a call. Take these 15 minutes, or you can schedule some time with me as well. So listen, I love you guys. Joel, listen, I appreciate you for inviting me on the show. This has been fun, man. And I look forward to each and every show, because, I'm going to be tuned in 1000%.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, brother Mike. Mike Seville, the king of real estate. Exit Realty. Is that right?
No, EXP. Don't do exit.
Don't do exit. EXP.
EXP Realty. Mm-hmm.
EXP. And Anna's going to make sure that his contact information is put down the description so that you can get in contact with him. Hey, he got me this house, and the value has already gone up, and I'm very happy to be in here. So not only did he help me to move into my home, but he's also helped move me from home to home. So I appreciate you, brother. We're going to go ahead and let you go there, man. Thank you. Have a God bless day, and enjoy your family. Send my love. All right, everybody. So this was the first visitor. I hope that you enjoyed that. One thing that Mike said that I like to just, go back to is transitional problem. Sometimes we get stuck in these transitional problems, and it makes it very, very difficult for us to overcome. But even while Mike was going through his transition, he was able to overcome by staying steady and creating brand new habits, as well as focusing, gathering that help and that assistance from other people. He noted about how he spoke with somebody inside of his Toastmasters, and he learned breathing techniques, and he lended on the lessons that he learned from his mother. All of these things help you to be able to successfully navigate through your transition. Don't be afraid to help somebody for help. You're not alone in this thing. There's plenty of people out here that are going through transitional issues, and they come out successful on the other end because they have done something that was a little bit different than someone else who just decided to sit back and let it all go by. So remember, get up, get out, get something. All right? You all take care. It starts with you. It starts with me. Peace.